So I will jump straight into the first speaker, who is Matt Hensley, Head of Trading Education at Tiresias Trading. Matt has been a full-time trader for almost 10 years and educating other traders for the last 6. In both day trading and swing trading options, he seeks quick short-term profits with strict rules-based systems. He has been a featured speaker at live and virtual events across the country. In 2017, he founded Tiresias Trading with the goal of helping retail traders find profitability and fulfilling their financial dreams. And the way this works is if you make it to the end of Matt's presentation, we will begin awarding our $100,000 in prizes over the next 3 days. Kate, do you have Matt on the line?
Yeah, we do. We've got Matt in the room. Welcome,
okay, Matt, can you hear me?
I can, John. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me?
We can, loud and clear. Where are you broadcasting from today?
Just outside of the great windy city of Chicago, Illinois.
Great. Okay. Well, it's a good time of the year to be in Chicago. That snow is finally melting.
Well, yeah, we still got some on the ground right now. So yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it. I'm ready to go when you are.
Are the parking spaces now becoming available after being buried in snow all winter?
Well, yes. We do spend a large portion of our state budget on snow plows, but they do a pretty good job around here. They get a lot of practice.
I bet. All right. Well, you have until 5 minutes before the hour, and then we will start awarding our prizes then. So with that, Matt, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And thank you very much to your team and you for inviting me to speak here. Special kudos to our pregame DJ today, a little Pink Floyd to start off the day. That's always good. So yes, my name is Matt Hensley. I am the head of trading education at Tiresias Trading. I deliberately chose a very tough pronouncing name just because for two reasons. One, Tiresias was a Greek oracle. I found that very appropriate to what we do for a living. And number two, I like alliteration. So I do want to show you this disclaimer slide, guys. You're going to see a lot of these this week. Make sure to read them. These are important, guys. I'm not going to read this through for you, but I'm going to leave it up on the screen for a few seconds for you to read. So obviously, this presentation is for educational purposes. So I hope there is an educational aspect to it, obviously. So who am I, right? I'm humbled and honored to be among the speakers this week, which is some of the most impressive names in the industry. But I've been around for a little while now. I've been a full-time trader since 2014. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background and a little bit about my story as we move into the content, because I find it's very important to tell you why I trade the way that I do and how I trade the way that I do based on my background, right? We all bring different positive and negative baggage into our trading, right? I was especially excited, guys, when they invited me to speak at this specific slot, because if you're here 30 minutes before the market opens on a Monday, I know one of two things. Either number one, you are a full-time trader, or number two, you want to be a full-time trader. And they say to seek out the clients that you want to work with in any business, no matter what it is. Those of you that are business owners probably know that. The people that are here at this time, you are the people that I want to work with. So I'm really excited to be presenting today. So what are we going to learn today? Okay, I'm going to do a step-by-step breakdown of my favorite day trading pattern. Now, as you saw on the previous screen, I'm a day trader and a swing trader, and I like to teach what I call the complete trader, right? I teach day trading, I teach swing trading. I do quite a bit of trading psychology stuff, and I also do a bunch of stuff, structuring your trading as a business, which is what we're going to talk about a little later on in this presentation. You're also going to learn about the benefits of rules-based trading, okay? There's rules-based trading, there's pattern-based trading. Some of them, there's a Venn diagram, they overlap quite a bit, but we're going to be specifically talking about some rules-based trading today. And everything that I do in the swing trading world, guys, is very specifically rule-based. And more specifically, the first thing we're going to be talking about, guys, is how I got here. You know, how did I get here at this event, talking in front of you guys, because it's very important. Now, your goal as a trader, we all have goals, right? If you don't have a goal, like an ultimate goal, right? And I, whether it's make $1 million, right? Or to buy that dream house, or whatever the case may be, if you don't have that goal written down and posted somewhere in your trading area, if you take nothing else away from this presentation today, please do that, right? I've worked with traders who, again, want to, you know, almost exclusively want to change their financial situation. Some of them have kids that they want to put through college, which, as we all know, ain't getting any cheaper, right? So all of these types of things that we all strive for, right? Now, your goal may not be to go into the trading education space, right? This is a fun but very competitive industry, right? So how did I get here? And this is just a quick picture of one of the first live events I ever spoke at. Okay, and I put this up not to brag or not to talk about anything specific that I've done, but not 5 years before this, guys. I just want to paint a little bit of a mental picture, because I thankfully don't have a picture of this moment, right? 5 years before the moment that this picture was taken, I had blown out my trading account, right? And I define blowing out a trading account as a 75% or more drawdown, right? And I've worked with tons of traders. We've all heard the horror stories. Well, I was one of them. Okay, I vividly remember the moment, sitting on the edge of my bed, like head in my hands, like, you know, I'd love to paint a dramatic picture that I was crying or anything. I know I was just shocked. Like, I was like, what the heck just happened to me? And fast forward 5 years, and not only, you know, do I have the level of success that I have, I'm doing what I really love to do, which is teaching it, right? My background was in teaching, coaching. You know, I was the, when I was coaching, I was the hype guy, right? I was the one that would get the team fired up before we took the floor, right? And so that was something that I love to do, and I missed it in my first couple of years of trading, right? So I've been through a variety of different companies, but 3 things, guys, got me to this stage. And again, in this picture, I'm 36 years old. I mean, I'm 39. This wasn't that long ago, right? But 3 things got me to this stage. Okay. Number 1 is strategies. I am a big believer in the non-trading aspects of trading, right? Trading psychology, having a business plan, SWOT analysis, all of that kind of stuff. But you still don't have success without strategies, and specifically without strategies with an edge, right? Without a definable edge. Okay. The second thing was community. Just a brief aside here, through a trading education room, which does not exist, has not existed for several years now. I got together with 5 other beginning traders. Not one of us had any success, right? We formed this little group we call the Traders Club, because The Breakfast Club was one of the members' favorite movies, right? We met twice a week. This was completely independent of everything else. We met twice a week, and the rule was, if you made a trade, because we were all swing traders at the time, if you made a trade, you had to defend it to the room. And so we, a lot of community, a lot of back and forth, a lot of reflection, a lot of that kind of stuff, right? And having to do that, and having to be accountable to somebody, because at the time I'm a single guy, I'm trading my money, right? I don't have a wife or kids that I have to worry about, that if I'm losing money, I'm costing their food and clothes and all of that. So there was nobody early on in my trading to hold me accountable, that when I was doing the same mistakes that I was doing again and again and again, there was nobody there to either physically or mentally smack me in the back of the head and said, dude, what the hell are you doing? Right? We need that in our trading. And the third one, guys, was how I viewed my trading, right? So I went into, when I was in college, I wanted to be either a basketball coach, sports agent, something along those lines. So sports management was my major. To have that major, you had to have a minor in business. Okay. And so I spent almost my entire senior year getting a minor in business, minor in communications, minor in public relations, right? All this stuff that I'm doing, and I'm enjoying the classes, interesting stuff, but I'm sitting here thinking, you know what, I'm never going to use this, right? Like, what we say about our high school algebra, right? We're never going to use this. But I found it extremely valuable in how I look at my trading, how I build out my business plan, my SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, for those that are new. We're not gonna have time to get into all of that today, but again, very, very important. No, you can't see my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Can somebody give me a yes?
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay, that's
Yep,
great.
good.
So anyway, okay, just making sure. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. Let's move to specifically how I trade. Now, we all have our styles. You're gonna hear about a lot of styles this week from a lot of different traders. And I found early on, and I just want to speak for 30 seconds to those that are in their first 2 years of trading. Okay, if you're within your first 2 years of trading, I don't care if you're having success or not. You should be in this what I call the sponge phase. You should just be soaking up knowledge wherever you can get it, right? Because I will tell you this. I am an option swing trader. I am a futures day trader. That is so far from where I started several years ago, so far from when I even began to see some profitability in my trading. I can't even tell you guys, right? Because I've been, oh, futures are way too dangerous. Options are way too dangerous. Well, any investments, any trading can be dangerous when done wrong, right? But at the same time, moving into these areas are because I opened myself up to knowledge, right? We should all be learning. But how I trade, I want to define my basic style to you. I'm not one, guys, that needs a 20 item checklist to get into my trades, right? I don't need specifically something that okay, I have to have 15 different things going on, right? I want simple, easily spotted patterns. But then there's a couple of conditions to this. I have but ifs, and I'm in the strategy that I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to show you the but if. So I take the simple pattern, it's a trade. But if a certain condition is met or not met, it's not a trade. I also have what I call C or Cs, right? And a C or Cs are confirmations or cancellations, right? So these are specific items that either confirm a trade or cancel a trade based on a lot of things going on. Okay, so the strategy I'm going to teach you today, it's very simple. It's called the VWAP Tap. If you're not familiar with value weighted average price, it's basically an indicator that overall the average price that is paid for, I predominantly use this in either stocks or index futures, a little gold, little oil, the basic five or the basic six, right? So the VWAP Tap strategy is very simple. It can be a long or a short setup. It's a short-term reversal pattern, okay? And on short-term, I mean over the course of what is the trend over the course of the last 20 to 30 minutes. And you'll see this as I put up some examples. The price action taps the VWAP before reversal, okay? That's it. That's the pattern. So again, and we're looking at some examples here momentarily, and I'm hoping actually once the markets open up here in a little bit, we can maybe see some that are about to fire off. That's one of the last things we're going to look at before I let you go today. So that's it, right? We can go now. We can go do whatever we're going to do. Get ready for the market open. Of course not, right? We have our but ifs. Okay. So no trades the first or last 30 minutes. And I have to be very strict with myself on this because I actually took one last week. Yeah, I had a five trade winning streak going on with this last week for a couple of days. And then I took one and I'm in the central time zone. So the markets open up at 8:30. So that means no trades before 9 o'clock in this system. I have other systems that I run before then. I took one at 8:57 and I broke my streak. And I talked myself into it, right? We do that. No trades after macro events. We've been seeing that a lot this week, right? So if there's and I should say a macro event that we can't anticipate, right? So let's say an hour after the markets open, and we've seen this, right? Ukraine and Russia are coming to the table. Okay. Well, at that point, I'm hands off on this particular system. Again, I have other momentum systems that I'll trade, but at that point, the hand comes off the mouse for a couple of minutes and just say, okay, I need the market to process this, right? We need the markets to start to price in whatever news is unexpected. This doesn't count for things like earnings. This doesn't count for, data releases that we know in advance, right? Although, in some cases it can. I'm sorry. No trades within 1 hour of another trade in the same instrument. So if I take a trade in the ES at 10:30, it doesn't matter if it's a win or lose. I will not then trade that instrument for a VWAP tap for at least 1 hour. And that's just because, again, if we keep making runs at that place, at the VWAP, at that particular line, we decrease the odds of a successful trade at that point. The C or Cs. So what are the C or Cs for this trade? Candle patterns, Okay, I'm a disciple of Steve Neeson. I'm very big on candle patterns and what they mean. Volume delta, I'm going to show you this in our first example. Tick activity, right? So if you're somebody who has a tool like Tick Strike or some of those other ones that have some sort of quantifiable way for large ticks, large orders as they kind of bunch up together. Or stop SI stop iceberg indicators, that kind of stuff, that can be as well. We're not going to spend a ton of time on that today, but VWAP slope, right? So we're gonna, I typically want the VWAP sloping down if for short trades and up for long trades. Our targets and stops, guys. Our target is half off at the first standard deviation band off of VWAP and half at the 2 standard deviation band. And our stop is typically halfway between the VWAP and the 1 standard deviation band, although sometimes I will let that go all the way to the 1 standard deviation band. Again, it depends on how much distance is between there. So let's take a look at our first example here, guys. And I've intentionally put 2 different screens up here, right? So we've got on the right, we've got just the basic VWAP, right? That's all that's up here. VWAP, 1 standard deviation is the dotted line, and the 2 standard deviation is the white line, -1, -2, you understand. So what do we got here? We got the opens. This is 8:30. We have an initial downward push. We come and hang out at the -2 standard deviation band, right? And then we move up and we have a VWAP tap. So simple pattern. We've come up and we've tapped the VWAP. So now what are our but ifs? Okay, we're outside of the first 30 minutes of trading, so that doesn't apply. What are we looking at as far as the C or Cs, the cancellation or the confirmations? Well, first thing is a candlestick pattern, right? So after this large candle to the upside, I'm either looking for with this candle is either going to be a rest candle or a reversal candle. Okay, so how do I know which one it is? Well, first of all, the first thing I'm going to look at is the candle pattern. And if you're like me and a Steve Neeson disciple, this large shadow wick, whatever you want to call it, we have different terminologies, is our first clue. Again, we rejected that push above VWAP. We got to VWAP, we held it, we began to push above, and we rejected it. And then this candle closed below. The second thing we're going to look at is this tool over here. So this is the candle, same candle. Okay, we're going to move down here, and this is the volume delta that corresponds with this. So there's 3 tools on here. There's the volume. So how many contracts trade in hands within this candle? Well, we can see it's 12,786. But our volume delta is going to show how many more of those were initiated as either buys or sells. In this case, 464 more contracts were initiated as sells versus buys. Now, of course, every trade has a buyer and a seller, right? But 464 more of these were somebody, whether marketing in limit, whatever, that were initiating the trade as a sell, whether they were selling for profit or selling short, we don't know. We don't necessarily care at that point. And then we have the delta change. And this is the number that always jumps out, especially after a couple of candles where everything's hunky-dory. Obviously, this one is a big candle to the upside here, right? Very strong. So again, this candle here is now either a rest or reversal. This tells me it has a stronger chance of being a reversal. Now, yes, sometimes you see this and the thing turns around and runs. That's part of trading, right? But this gave me a clue that said, you know what? Whoever was getting in on these candles, they were probably taking a little bit of profit there, or at least this is where the short sellers were stepping in and telling the longs, yeah, no more, guys. Okay. So right there, that was a go trade for me. We followed our rules. This was live in our trading room. We had a very nice trade off of this one, guys. Right. So this is sort of I don't want to call it an ideal trade because there's no such thing, but that was an example of that one. So let's go take another look here. This was the YM. Now, again, guys, keep in mind with volume, because obviously you're seeing some much smaller numbers down here. Volume is only relative to the instrument, right? So obviously the YM, which is the futures contract for the Dow, going to have a lot less volume in it than the ES, which is the futures contract for the SPY, right? The ES, one of the most liquid trading instruments out there. So one of the reasons that I really like it, to be honest. We want to be in liquidity, right? So this was the YM on January 6th of this year. Now, same pattern, right? We broke down at the open, we rested, and then we made a run for VWAP. Now, what's the first thing we notice here, guys? Again, for us candlestick practitioners, we were really already kind of running out of steam as we pushed up towards VWAP, right? I have a separate candlestick pattern that I call the multi-wick rejection, which is, again, very similar to this, where multiple candle wicks make a run at a particular area of either support or resistance, and it's a rejection either time, right? So the buyers were, this was our first clue. The buyers were never really able to gain control of this, right? They really weren't able to get that strong push above VWAP. And again, I do encourage you to kind of look up VWAP independently, because when you learn a little more about it and understand how institutions use it, you see why it's such an effective tool. Because obviously, if an institution's trying to put together a large position of some kind, whoever's job it is to get into that position, is VWAP's one of the ways they're going to be judged on how effective they were in getting into that position. Doesn't matter if it's long or short. Okay, so right away, we're running out of this momentum, right? So again, what am I looking for in this scenario? I'm looking for a potential reversal candle. So the first thing we look at with this candle here, the one that grazed VWAP, and I don't put VWAP on this particular platform that I use. This is where I actually enter my trades, simply because I've been using the toss version of this for so long. I know the tool. And second of all, for some reason on this platform here, the VWAP doesn't always line up. So if you're asking why are we looking at two different charts, that's essentially why. Plus, I have all the instruments that I use on VWAP on one specific monitor. So you can just, again, you can just kind of take a glance at it, and within 10 seconds know if any trades are coming. And once the markets open up here in a little bit, we will go over and take a look at that. So as we go down here was this particular candle. Now, again, first of all, one of the things that we can know through this is look at our delta. Our delta is negative through most of these candles. The buyers never really had control of this thing, right? The price just sort of, you want to call it, drifted upwards, bled upwards, whatever the case may be. We know right away that these particular candles were not strong buyer candles. So at that point, we should be on the lookout for a reversal candle as we approach VWAP. And sure enough, this gave it to us, right? On the board here, the biggest delta to the downside, at least absolute value biggest delta change to the downside. And sure enough, guys, this trade didn't quite make it all the way down to -2 standard deviation. And full disclosure, guys, just because I like to keep transparency, the first trade we took in the room, this one I didn't see until later on in the days, but I thought it was such a good example that I wanted to pull it out and show you guys this. So this is sort of the basics of the strategy. We're going to go take a look at what the markets are giving us today in a few minutes. But obviously we're not open yet. So I want to talk just a couple of different things, guys, in terms of how I view my trading. Okay. And I think this is very, very important. And I quite frankly don't think this is talked about enough in this space, though there's some people coming along to it. A lot of traders, if you look at a lot of good trade, some of the big names in this industry, right? And you need a well-rounded education, guys. You need to learn from traders who have been on the floor in New York, traders who have been on the floor in Chicago. Those guys have invaluable insights in terms of how the market is done. But you also need to learn from quite frankly, from people like me who got started in retail trading. I have no financial background. I have no professional financial background, right? And yet I've been able to navigate these waters and come through. It was always a little intimidating for me to learn from some of these guys who, in fact, one of my neighbors when I was growing up worked on the CBOT floor when there was still like a very active options and futures trading pits there. And so I would hear all the war stories from him, having no idea that my future would eventually be in that business. But I do have a business background. And throughout my various jobs over the years, I was always looking for opportunities to make more money because, quite frankly, teaching and coaching in any level below college doesn't pay anything. So I helped a lot of friends open businesses and all of this. And I just want to do one quick mental exercise with you really quickly. I don't care how much money you have in your trading account right now. I don't care if it's $5,000 or $5 million. Okay. If somebody came to you today and said, somebody came to me and said, hey, Matt, I've got a business opportunity for you. And I don't want this to be like your crazy relative that's always asking for money, right? This is a friend. This is somebody you trust. Maybe somebody that's been very successful in his or her life. Okay. And they come and say, hey, I got this investment for you. It's going to cost exactly what's in your trading account right now. And let's say you think about it. What's the first thing you're going to do? Okay. You're going to say, that's great. What's your business plan? right? You're going to want that document. I don't care if it's 5 pages. I don't care if it's 1,000 pages, right? And no restaurants, guys, don't open a restaurant. Take it from me. It's a hard business. But besides that, what are the things you're going to want to know? How are you going to be successful? How are you going to spend this money that I give you? And how is this going to make me money, right? And your trading has to be the same way. First of all, depending on your state, it may benefit you to have an LLC. I have one. I'm not a professional accountant, so don't take that as advice in that regard. But there's a lot of people out there that specialize in that kind of stuff. It's worth the investment of your time and maybe a little money to sit down and figure that out. But you need to understand, I'm paying X amount in data fees per month or whatever the case may be, right? And when you start looking at your trading as a business, instead of, quite frankly, too many people look at it as a hobby. Sure, a hobby to make money, but it is a business. It needs to be treated like a business. You need to have a full-time SWOT analysis. You need to have basically, that attitude with it. And one of the biggest things with this, guys, is risk reward, right? This is a fun table I just put together that I show at all the presentations that I give, right? So this is, and I'm not going to go deep into this, guys, but everybody says, oh, I've got a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, risk reward ratio, or technically reward to risk ratio, right? That's really, I'll be honest, guys, especially day traders out there, how difficult that could be, right? My sweet spot, to be honest with you guys, is, as soon as I find my mouse cursor, is basically 1.3 to 1, right? That's where I want to be. I want to be in that, there it is, in that sweet spot, right in between 1.5 to 1 and 1 to 1, right? So if I can do that and keep my winning percentage where I like to have it, which is 56 to 58%, that's how you grow your account, guys. Everyone wants to throw these, 70, 80% winning percentages. Okay. I actually coached a guy once that had an 80% winning percentage and yet was losing 5 figures a month, right? Because he was a small cap swing trader, which don't get me started on that, but his average winner was making him about $200. His average loser was losing him about $900. Okay. So again, when one loser eats up 4 of your winners, and my guess is, because I just seen the number of people in this room right now, there's several of you out there who are in this category. This is something you really need to begin to focus on. Okay. So that's just a little quick aside. And this is from the business perspective, right? Because you're always going to ask, what's the risk reward in every little piece of a business? So the next part of this, guys, I told you I wanted to talk through the 2 biggest mistakes new traders make. And again, my first foray into trading education, guys, I worked for a website that unfortunately no longer exists, but it was a really big site for a few years. And my job when I first started was to specifically talk to people who had blown up their accounts to make sure they didn't do it again. Why? Because I had blown out an account and I didn't do it again. So I guess just by process of having that experience, they figured I'd be good at it, but I enjoyed it, right? I didn't enjoy hearing the horror stories, but I enjoyed helping people who had made some of those mistakes not make them again, right? And the old saying for me is I never make the same mistake twice. I make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure, right? So ideally, we don't want to do that. So the 2 biggest mistakes, guys, is not using rules-based setups, right? On my site, in my programs, all of that, I exclusively teach rules-based setups specifically to beginning traders, right? Because it takes so much of the guesswork out of this. I have a swing trading strategy called the snapback. And so somebody will say, well, this was a snapback, but it didn't have, well, then it's not a snapback. I have 5 very specific criteria for that entry. If all 5 are not met, it's not that trade, right? So it takes so much of the guesswork out, right? That with very specific stops, very specific targets, right? That takes the guesswork out of the trading. Either it is that trade or it isn't. And if it is, then it's successful or it's not, right? I was entering trades when I first got in because I thought it would go up, right? First trade I ever made, I bought Apple. Why? Well, it's Apple. It's a good company. It'll go up. Well, I guess on one hand, that's a very basic form of fundamental analysis, right? But at the same time, that's not how you do it. I had no rationale or set of static guidelines to tell me one way or the other. Okay. So the second biggest mistake new traders make. All right, we got our bell there. So we're going to go shift. I'm going to give the first 5-minute candle, and then we're going to shift over and take a look, see if maybe we have some strong price direction on one way or another. But the second of the biggest mistakes new traders make, guys, and this is the community aspect. And this is where I struggled initially, not having somebody to hold you accountable for your trading. I highly encourage, if you've got a you know, if you're married, who, you know, whoever your spouse is, or maybe you got a roommate if you're, you know, younger and still single, whatever the case may be, you should let them in on this, right? And just say, hey, today I made this, today I lost this, I did this, I did this. They don't have to be traders. They don't even have to understand the whole thing, right? But sometimes just a voice of reason, especially if you're losing money day after day after day, trade after trade after trade, somebody to be able to tell you, hey man, whatever you're doing, it ain't working, right? You don't need to know a thing about trading to understand that. And our trading is very emotional to us, right, guys? Having a voices involved in your trading with no agenda other than helping you be successful is a must. So with that, guys, I want to just take, I want to pull up here. So this is kind of my basic screen. I want to look at kind of where we're at here. So we're below VWAP pretty much across the board. And I just put 4 tools up here because I don't know what size screens people are using. So I don't want to compact it with too much. We've got the ES, we've got the NQ, we've got the GC, which is gold, CL, which is oil. Obviously oil has been, I haven't touched oil, guys, for the last couple of weeks, just because of what's going on. And there's been so much, you know, swing back and forth. For as much as we're technical traders, guys, at least I imagine most of you are, you know, we always understand the fundamentals trump the technicals every time, right? The war in Ukraine is gonna you know, have a bigger effect than anybody's earnings or anything like that, right? Okay, so we're looking here. So basically, what I would be looking at in the ES, and again, no but ifs, no trades in the first 30 minutes. But what I would be looking for here, again, with the downsloping VWAP, would be to come up here and tag that with some of our potential C or Cs. As I look here, I do think probably the ES is the best out of these potentially later on in the day. And that's simply because it's been caught between the -1 and the -2 standard deviation. I do trade the NQ with this, guys. The NQ is full disclosure, my least successful instrument. I mean, it's still profitable in it, but least successful instrument with this strategy, although it's my most with the algo mid strategy that I trade. Just because, again, you guys know the NQ is like I mean, it's basically if you gave a 5-year-old a sugar high, that's how the NQ trades most days, right? It's just bouncing all over the place, which is good for us as traders, right? You know, especially for specific momentum based patterns. But for me, the ES is where I typically want to be with the VWAPs as well. CL already kind of had a little bit of a VWAP tap, so this is kind of the pattern in practice, guys. Although again, not as much of a trader recently for me. The ideal pattern with this, guys, is again what the ES has done, coming down here or coming up to the 2 standard dev band. We don't have time to get in all the probabilities, 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations. If you don't know what those terms mean, please look them up, because they're very important to a lot of the things that we as traders do, right? It's all probabilities, right? We want the probabilities on our side. I do want to check here as we get through our first 5-minute candle. Another tool that I just started using recently is relative volume, which does not look like it's loaded up here for some reason. So I'm gonna have to go yell at my platform again. Well, here, you can kind of see it down here. So relative volume is another one, guys, that looking at specific points of volume, I want to see volume at or above relative volume. So we can already see the last hour of price action. So the you know, again, kind of this hour before the market's open, our relative volume here in the GC was a lot lower, right? That's what this yellow bar covering up this sort of this skeleton, as we call it, this white line is. That should have loaded up in the ES, but it obviously hasn't. So again, pretty big delta to the downside here in the ES. So we're going to watch a couple of candles here, guys, and then I will have some time to take some questions, and then we'll go about the rest of the presentation. So any questions right now, actually, guys? I'm a big believer in areas of consolidation as well, guys. You can see by all the lines and some of the areas I've outlined. Areas where we spend as many as 10 to 12 hours trading within there. And I don't care if they're overnight or during the regular trading day. That's something that I'm always going to be aware of, where we're breaking out, where we're breaking down. We kind of got a little bit of a one going on here. Okay, so we actually had a pretty decent VWAP tap here pre-market. Again, I don't trade these. These actually do trade well overnight, guys. To be honest, I'm really into my trading. I'm a trading junkie, but I'm not staying up at 2 a.m. to trade. I can't do it. I actually tried when I first got into futures about 4 years ago. I was like, oh man, there's, my buddies, one of my trading buddies says, there's this pattern, man. It works great at 2 a.m. And he's right. It did. But you guys know the markets move really slow at 2 or 3 a.m. Kind of the Asian Europe markets there. And I was just, man, my girlfriend's like, no, I'm sitting there with a laptop in bed at 2. There was nope. I'm sorry. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to go somewhere else with that. So yeah, that's okay. So we're clearly rolling here to start in the ES, which is fine. Actually, the more extreme move in this first 30 minutes, usually the better chance of a successful VWAP tap later on in the day. Okay, so example of the individual setup on stocks. So let me see here. Let me pull up my. And let's give this we'll go 1 minute on this. So the theory in this in stocks is the very same way, right, guys? It's get a little closer here. I typically actually do this on the 1 minute on stocks just because there's, again, there can be a lot of noise within 1 minute candles on futures, and there can be in stocks too, but I typically would trade this, although just for sake, we'll pull up the 5 minute to be a little consistent across things here. So again, and thank you for the question, Michael. It's note that it's exact same procedure with this, right? I don't have a volume delta tool pulled up here for stocks, but with stocks, I actually tend to watch the level 2 for a little while. And I will always, especially if I'm trading the big guys, right? Because if you're trading Apple in this pattern, you're going to want to know what the ES and the NQ is doing, right? Because if those start surging, Apple's probably going to go with it, right? I mean, the more liquid the stock, the more likely I'm going to be to take a setup with it, right? I got my start as a small cap swing trader, and after like 2 years, I was break even, and I was lucky to be break even, right? And so I just kind of said enough of this. I got tired of, and don't get me wrong, there's some traders that are really good at this. I got tired of having to look through, SEC filings and paper, who's got a shelf, who's potentially dropping an offering, because those of you that have done that, you can have good news like after hours. And you're like, oh, this is great. It's going to open great tomorrow. You walk away from your screen. Next thing you know, like an hour later, it was a pump and dump. They put out an offering off of some press release, right? That turns out to be much ado about nothing. So your $2.50 stock, which you were expecting to open above 3, opens at 170 the next day, right? So that was something I just kind of moved on. But this is the specific setup that, again, I play this in stocks as well. And again, the more extreme the price action coming off these 2 standard dev bands, the more likely, and you can see, guys, we got a valid VWAP tap here again, pre-market, but I don't trade futures pre-market. I sure as heck don't trade stocks pre-market. That's again, I want to be where the liquidity is, right? The big boys always set the market, right? I'm not going to swim against them. I just want to put my canoe in the water and go downstream with them for a couple of miles, right? After that, they can do whatever they need to do. So, this is actually the ES. Let's pull up Apple, since I was talking about Apple. And again, you're not going to get too much here because of the pre-market. So you need to take a look at this later in the day. But every platform, guys, has a basic VWAP tool, and usually you can put some standard dev bands on that as well. It's becoming more and more common, and VWAP itself is a tool that was not widely used in retail trading, as little as 5 to 10 years ago, and now every platform's got it. You just got to be careful with some platforms, guys. Based on where they anchor that VWAP. Does it include all the pre-market trading? Does it include the aftermarket trading from the previous day? Like, where do they delineate? Typically with stocks, I actually like to just have it for that particular day. the regular trading day, the New York Open, 9:30 Eastern, right? But again, you have to wait at least for those, then you have to wait at least an hour because you need to get enough volume in there where the VWAP actually means something, because it's just not going to in that for the first 60 minutes, really. So, okay. So I am going to, guys, I want to tell you about something I put together specifically for you guys. When John and his team asked me to speak here, they said, hey, make sure you do something special for these guys because we really value our clients and the people that come to our events. So guys, if it's all right with you, I'm going to take just 2 minutes to tell you about this particular package that I put together for you guys, and then I will be here to take questions until my time is up. So is it all right if I take 2 minutes and do that? Excellent. Thank you. So we're going to go back here. All right. Okay, so guys, I have put together the Mad Hedge Premium Pack. This is only available to you guys. I put a lot of pride in all of the materials that I put together. And this is over the last 3 months, guys. I've on and off worked for myself over the years. Sometimes I'm contracted out to other companies. But this is the first time these last about 4 or 5 months where I am able to put out my content without any filter, right? I now have, again, I've been very honored and privileged to have some of the mentors in this business that I have. And it's now time for me to be presenting this stuff. So let me tell you about what I've got here, guys. With the pack, you're going to get 3 months access to my premium membership. So you're going to get my live trading room. Okay. It's where I'm headed as soon as I'm done here. I put together a daily swing trading newsletter with the 3 strategies that I teach, the scan results right there. So by 30 minutes before the market opens, I drop this in our Discord channel, and you have access to it. And you're going to start the day basically with about 30 swing trading ideas off of the systems that I teach. Okay. But you have to learn the systems first, right? So you're going to get access to my 3 favorite swing trading strategies course. I charge about $500 for this, guys. So this is the 3 strategies that I've been using for the last 7 years. They are my 3 most profitable swing trading systems. They're what I just told you guys. They're very simple, rules-based systems. They come with one pagers that have the checklist. So you can have the one pager up on a screen. You can be looking at your thing. Okay, does it have this? Yes. Does it have this? Yes. Boom, it's a snapback trade. Also, you're going to get my trading as a business course, guys. I talked about this, right? How important this is. I'm going to show you how to put together a business plan. In fact, I give you a template in this course. So you can go and say, okay, here's my costs. Here's my, this, here's that. How am I going to make money in trading besides just strategies, right? You're also going to get how I use technical analysis course. Okay. So this is just a breakdown rather than me just read definitions to you. Cause I've always been insulted when I pay for a course and somebody just says, well, here's this and here's what it means. Well, I could have gotten that on Investopedia, right? This is how I use technical analysis. I'm going to take you through the tools that I use and how I use them and why I use them in those specific things, right? This always pairs very well with the swing trading strategies course. I also, guys, this actually releases it releases later today. This is one of the best things I've put together in all my years, guys. It's called Year One, a Trader's Journal. It's an interactive podcast. Well, what's an interactive podcast? Well, thank you for asking, man. I'm glad you asked. Basically, it's a long form podcast about my first year in trading. And the very first episode is called Pain. And I go back to that moment in October of 2014, where I said, for the first time in my life, I looked at something and said, I don't know if I can do this. From there to me on stage 5 years later, what I showed you, this goes through that. What happened? What did I do? And each episode is geared towards one of the 4 levels on the ladder of competency. They all have the interactive part is you get worksheets with them. So after you listen to an episode, you go to a worksheet and you sit in, okay, here's what Matt talked about. Here's where this parallels my trading career, right? And here's some of the things he did. How can I do some of these things, right? So it's an interactive podcast. I'm really excited for it. It's honestly, as I was editing it this weekend and putting the final touches on it, and I was thinking, man, this is one of the best things I've ever done. And you see, guys, this is, you can go on my site right now and buy all this for a little over 2,000. Okay. But because, John and his team were so kind to invite me to this, and I want to provide as much value to you as possible, we're going to offer this for $497. Okay. So basically you're going to buy the Swing Trading Strategies course and get everything else for free. Okay. This is basically the entirety of my catalog right now. And I value the fact that you took time out of your day. You're here on a Monday morning before the market's even open, guys. I don't take that lightly. That means you're serious. That means you're a serious individual about your trading. You're not somebody who does this for a hobby, or you're not somebody who makes a trade or two a month so they can tell their buddies at the bar that they're a trader, right? I know some of those guys, right? Spend some time in and around the Chicago financial scene, and you'll meet a lot of those guys and girls. Not to discriminate. There's plenty of people on both sides of that aisle. But you're here, you're serious. I want to provide as much value as possible. So that's again. So you got the link out there. Actually, that's a good question. Well, why not give it for free? Well, if you're good at something, never do it for free, right? That's business mantra. So that's, again, I'm taking a lot of time out to do some of this. And so I think it's, but again, if the Swing Trading Strategies course, guys, right? My snapback trade, I do it in options. My average win over the course of the last 5 years on that in options per contract is about $180 again per contract. I do multi-contract lots. So if you did that traded 3 contracts and were successful, and of course I do not guarantee success, right? That would be stupid. But you can honestly, guys, you can make this back in a single trade in one of those systems, right? If this provides you with whatever your ultimate goal is, okay, to put those kids through college, to get that car you've wanted since you were 25 years old. Okay. I don't post pictures on social media of all the cool stuff that I buy and do. I think that's tacky as hell, to be honest with you. But guys, I just bought a brand new car this summer in the mess of all of this, car show, and I paid cash for it. Right. Like of course I don't guarantee that will happen to you. But do you have any idea what a weight that was to not have to worry about, a car loan and not have to worry? No, that was one of my trading goals, and I hit it. Okay. So if you're trading, whatever your trading goal is, if this gets you there, hell, if it gets you 20% of the way there, to me, that's more than worth, it's more than worth $2,000, let alone the $497. So before we leave, guys, I want to give you one last little bonus. The 5 questions I ask myself before I enter a trade. This is my mental trading checklist. The first is, what is the setup I'm taking? Well, in the case of what we're talking about today, it's a VWAP Tap. If I can't name the setup, it's like, I think it's going to go up. No, Matt, that's not one of your systems. That's not one of your setups. Go take a walk. That's what I tell myself, and I do. Is the risk reward of this trade appropriate to my trading plan? So if I can't get at least 1.2 or 1.3 to 1 reward to risk, it's not part of my trading plan, right? Sometimes I can get that 1.5 to 1. Sometimes I even get 2 to 1. But if it's like, well, actually I'm risking, like in the ES, I'm risking 15 handles to make 15 handles. Well, that's not to my trading plan. Is my rationale for entering this trade solid? I have a history of revenge trading, guys. It's one of my biggest mental trading errors, right? I lose on a trade and I feel the market owes me. No, I had a great setup there and it didn't follow through. The market owes me that money. And so I have to check myself on that. Will I be able to appropriately monitor this trade, right? If it's a swing trade, you don't want your swing trades tick by tick. That'll drive you insane, right? But if I'm doing 3 minis in the ES, that's a lot of weight, right? I can't do that if then I'm going to go work out and take a shower, right? No, I need to be there to monitor this trade. And number 5 is the most important, guys. Am I ready to lose on this trade? Every trade can be a winner. Every trade can be a loser. If you're not mentally ready to lose, you're going to bail out too soon before you have a situation where, again, maybe you hit your particular stop loss. All right, so I'm going to put this back on the screen, guys. And what are any questions that you may have? I have about 5 minutes to take questions here. Pull up while you guys are typing your questions here. I do want to at least pull up what we were looking at here earlier. Oh, did I link these? Okay. All right. So let's see if we're setting up. Oh yeah. See, we're already coming back here in the ES. Now, again, we got 10 minutes before we can have valid trades here. Hitting this really nice in the NQ, although the NQ looks like it. And guys, I have another tool that shows is it possible to get the delta configuration for toss? Mauricio, I honestly do not know. And another disclaimer, guys, any tools you've seen me use today, I use them because they're the best for what I do. I have no business relationship. I'm not an affiliate for any of these platforms or tools, just so you know. Some people are, and that's fine. I don't hate on them for that. But if I use something, it's because I think it's best for my trading. This is Edge Pro X, guys. This is a futures only platform, and I really like it for trading futures. I like it from the education standpoint because it's so easy to draw areas here. So again, that's something. So thank you to these guys who put the link in there, but I'm also going to drop the link to this particular offer into the room as well. So again, you can just click on that. It'll take you right to the page. It should have everything programmed in there. If you have an issue, let me know. But okay, I got just a couple more minutes for questions, guys. And here's the delta, guys. This is and I like this. I use these two in conjunction. I just started using this one actually about a month ago. Having a visual representation of this is very important. So again, if let's say the VWAP is up here, right? If I'm coming to this VWAP and I'm seeing these positive delta candles get less, and then even move into the negative delta candles, that's again another C or C. That's going to be a confirmation rather than a cancellation. Is the charting software included? John, I'm not sure which part you remember. I don't work for these companies, so I can't include anything that they have. I can help you, like at least direct you to where you can go to set up this stuff. Guys, this platform only costs about $30 a month. It's very reasonable. And the data feed, the rhythmic data feed I use with it is about another 30. So I was paying $500 a month for data feeds, and I'm not going to name them, with the last platform that I was on. And I thought that's just the way it was because I used that platform for about 5 years, and then I had a buddy who knew these guys and set me up with them, and it's like I'm like I want to go back to my old platform. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna need that $5,000 I've paid you in fees back, but obviously that was my stupid self for not knowing that. How to set up? Yes, that's how to set up all your charts is included in the 3 strategies course. Okay. Only question is also where to find the delta volume and toss and setting that up. I don't know if they have it. The way it was explained to me is whoever uses it has to have the platform has to have a very specific feed coming from whether it's a CME, CBOT, whatever. And I don't know who does or doesn't have that, so I can't comment on that. But it's built in for no additional fee with these guys. So. Any daily routines for a solid mindset before trading? That's a very important question, Bruno. Bruno, I hope you come on board with that offer, man. I'd love to work with you just based on that question that you asked, because that's a very important question. My routine is the same every morning, guys. Actually, it was a little altered today, simply because of, again, I was doing this presentation. But markets open at 8:30. I am at my desk no later than 7. So usually about 6:45, I get up, take my dog out, make my first cup of coffee, no more than 2. I found that over the years, more than 2, and I get jittery and my doctor yells at me. So, I have a cup of coffee, right when I sit down here at 7. About an hour later, I'll go up and get another cup. I actually still kind of have a little bit of it here, but so that's routine. I'm looking at the same things at every part of the day, right? So for the first half hour, I don't trade VWAP Tap, so I'm not watching for it. I have a system called the Algo Mid system. I'm looking at that. I'm monitoring my swings to see if they hit any profit targets or stop losses in that first half hour. And yeah, so that's basically what I'm looking at and what I'm looking for. All right, I've got time for one more question before I got to turn it back over to our team. But again, a huge thank you to everybody for being here. Again, I was so excited when I got this time slot because I knew it's the serious people that show up here, and you are the people that I want to work with. Okay. So again, I really hope you consider taking me up on this offer. I'm going to have some current clients that are going to be pissed about this offer because they have paid full price for all that stuff. So I'm going to get some emails there, guys. This is the best on it. I know, it sounds what it sounds, but this is truly the best price I've ever put on this stuff and probably ever will again. And I did that there out of respect for John and his team, because this is such a big event, and I'm honored to be here. I want to make sure you guys have value with it. So, all right. So with that, guys, it looks like my time is up. You can go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter. Just search for Tiresias Trading. Thank you very much for being here. It was an honor and a privilege. You got some great speakers coming up over the next few days. Once this event is done, I certainly hope to see you in my live trading room. And with that, I will hand it back over to our host. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Matt, that was fantastic. You certainly know what you're talking about and amply demonstrated that to the listeners.